Huge tension at Aprilia after other manufacturers tempting offers for their rider. Aprilia is entering one of the most delicate and defining moments of its modern MotoGP journey, not because of instability on track or a sudden drop in performance, but due to intense pressure coming from the rider market itself. The Noali-based manufacturer has openly acknowledged that rival MotoGP manufacturers are making extremely tempting financial offers to lure away its riders, a situation that has forced Aprilia's management to stay on high alert far earlier than they would normally expect in a championship cycle. This tension reflects how far Aprilia has come in recent years. Once seen as an underdog project, it is now a serious reference point in MotoGP, producing riders attractive enough for bigger, wealthier manufacturers to aggressively pursue. The core of Aprilia's concern lies in the timing and intensity of these offers. MotoGP contracts traditionally begin serious negotiations midway through the season, once performance trends are clearer. However, the current market has accelerated dramatically. The looming 2027 technical regulation overhaul has encouraged manufacturers to think long-term much sooner, and that urgency has spilled into 2026 contract discussions. Aprilia CEO Massimo Rivola admitted that the team is aware of rivals offering a lot of money to its riders, a statement that carries more weight than it might initially seem. It is not simply about salary figures. It is about strategic intent from manufacturers who see Aprilia's rider lineup as a shortcut to rebuilding or accelerating their own projects. This situation underlines a broader truth about modern MotoGP. Success breeds vulnerability. Aprilia's steady climb from the back of the grid to regular podium contention has transformed how the paddock perceives its riders. When Aprilia struggled, its riders were rarely targets for factory teams with deeper budgets. Now, after consistent competitiveness and race-winning potential, those same riders are viewed as proven assets. For Aprilia, this is both validation and a risk. It confirms that the project is working, but it also means that retained talent requires resources, conviction, and a compelling long-term vision strong enough to compete with financial temptation. At the center of this market tension are Aprilia's leading riders, whose performances have elevated the RSGP into genuine championship discussions. Marco Bezzecchi in particular has become a focal point. His adaptation to Aprilia machinery and his ability to deliver wins and consistent results have made him one of the most valuable riders on the grid. Bezzecchi represents exactly what several manufacturers are searching for: a rider in his prime, fast, adaptable, technically aware, and already proven capable of leading a factory project. From Aprilia's perspective, losing a rider like Bezzecchi would not just mean losing lap time. It would mean losing continuity, feedback quality, and a cornerstone of future development. Jorge Martin's situation adds another layer of complexity. Although his tenure at Aprilia has been disrupted by injury, his reputation remains formidable. A former world champion, Martin brings experience, speed, and commercial appeal. Highlights that Aprilia is fully aware of how attractive such a profile is to manufacturers attempting to reinvent themselves or regain competitiveness. Even without consistent recent results, Martin's name alone carries weight in contract discussions, and that makes Aprilia's task even harder. Managing a rider returning from injury while simultaneously fending off external interest is a delicate balancing act, especially when the rider himself must feel secure and valued. Massimo Rivola's public comments were carefully phrased but revealing. He did not name specific teams, yet the implication is clear. Manufacturers with larger budgets, such as Honda or Yamaha, are actively exploring ways to strengthen their lineups by targeting riders who have flourished at Aprilia. For those teams, money is not just an incentive, it is a statement of intent. After struggling to match Ducati's dominance, they are willing to invest heavily in human capital, believing that the right rider can accelerate development and restore competitiveness. Aprilia, by contrast, must compete with a more measured financial approach, relying on technical growth, team culture, and sporting ambition rather than sheer spend power. This creates a strategic dilemma. Aprilia does not want to rush into early contract renewals that could lock it into expensive commitments or limit flexibility. Yet waiting too long risks losing riders who may be swayed by financial security and long-term guarantees elsewhere. Rivola emphasized that Aprilia prefers to evaluate situations calmly and avoid panic decisions, but the reality of MotoGP's evolving market may not allow that luxury. The moment rival offers are placed on the table, the clock effectively starts ticking, regardless of Aprilia's internal timelines. The pressure is intensified by the broader context of MotoGP's future. The 2027 regulation changes are expected to reshape the competitive landscape, altering bike characteristics and potentially reducing the current advantage enjoyed by certain manufacturers. Teams want riders who can lead them through that transition, offering not just speed but development insight. Aprilia's riders, having contributed to transforming the RSGP from a struggling prototype into a race-winning machine, are seen as valuable guides for that next era. In this sense, the interest in Aprilia's riders is also an endorsement of the team's engineering and management philosophy. Financial disparity remains one of the key challenges. Aprilia operates with a smaller budget compared to Japanese giants, and while its recent success has increased internal confidence, it has not magically closed the resource gap. When Rivola speaks of rivals offering a lot of money, it reflects a reality where Aprilia must carefully justify every euro spent. Matching offers outright may not be feasible or sustainable. Instead, Aprilia must convince its riders that staying offers greater long-term rewards, sporting success, stability, and the opportunity to be central figures in any factory project, rather than one of many high-profile names elsewhere. Another important aspect is rider motivation. Money matters, but so does belief in a project. Aprilia has worked hard to create an environment where riders feel listened to and involved. The RSGP's development trajectory has been shaped by rider feedback, and that sense of influence can be a powerful retention tool. Riders who feel like leaders rather than replaceable components are often more willing to resist external offers. However, when those offers come with both financial security and the prestige of historically dominant manufacturers, the equation becomes more complicated. The situation also exposes how MotoGP's competitive cycle is shifting. In the past, talent typically flowed toward already dominant teams. Now, manufacturers are more willing to take calculated risks, targeting riders from successful but smaller projects in hopes of replicating that success internally. Aprilia's rise has made it a talent incubator in the eyes of the paddock, a role that brings respect but also vulnerability. Maintaining momentum while defending against talent raids requires not just performance but strategic foresight. Aprilia's management understands that the next few months are critical. Decisions made now will shape the team's trajectory through the end of the current regulations and into the new era. Losing a key rider could force Aprilia into a rebuilding phase, just as it has established itself as a consistent frontrunner. Conversely, successfully retaining its core lineup would send a powerful message to the paddock that Aprilia is no longer a stepping stone, but a destination. There is also the psychological element. Public acknowledgement of rival interest can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it reinforces Aprilia's credibility and reassures sponsors and fans that the team is producing top-level talent. On the other, it risks creating uncertainty within the garage. Riders, engineers, and partners may begin to question long-term stability if contract situations remain unresolved. Managing that internal narrative is as important as handling external negotiations. From a competitive standpoint, Aprilia cannot afford distraction. MotoGP margins are razor-thin, and even minor disruptions can translate into lost performance. Rivola's challenge is to keep the team focused on racing while navigating complex off-track negotiations. This requires transparency without alarm, confidence without arrogance, and decisiveness without haste. It is a leadership test as much as a commercial one. Ultimately, the tension surrounding Aprilia reflects MotoGP's current reality. Success invites pressure. The same performances that have elevated Aprilia's status have also made its riders targets. Whether Aprilia can turn this moment into a statement of strength depends on how effectively it balances financial realities with sporting ambition. Retaining key riders would confirm that the project has matured beyond its underdog phase. Losing them would not erase recent achievements, but it would force a recalibration at a critical juncture. As the season progresses and the paddock's focus shifts between on-track battles and off-track maneuvering, Aprilia's situation will remain under close scrutiny. The offers from rival manufacturers are not just about money. They are about belief in Aprilia's riders and, by extension, belief in Aprilia itself. How the Italian manufacturer responds will define not only its immediate future but also its long-term identity within MotoGP's ever-evolving hierarchy.